All right, I think we're going live. Yep. Hi, everyone.
Hello. Hello.
Good to be with you all. I'm Robbie, and this is Nicole. We're both from Google, and we will give people a little bit of time to join, and then we'll kick off the programming in just a minute. But thanks for being here.
Yeah, Robbie does not look like Tina, our other host, so you may be shocked, but we have someone new joining us today. But yes, will be fun. Our fourth and final session. It's good to see everyone that's starting to show up, and we're always excited, of course, to see the questions that you may have as you post them down below on the Gather page.
Yeah, if you haven't been to one of these sessions before, we mean them to be very conversational and interactive. So please do jump in with questions, comments throughout. I will be kind of reading through the comments that you have and making sure that we answer the ones that are most urgent or most common. So really excited to hear what you guys are thinking about. I will say this is the last in a series of events that the Google News Initiative has been doing. And so you can go back and watch other sessions if you missed them. I can add into the comments the link to our past, to watch our past events.
Yes, they were good ones. You don't want to miss them. As I say for myself. Also, in today, for those of you that are still drying in, I have two screens up, so my vision will be shifting from one to the next.
Okay, Nicole, this is my first time doing it, so I just want to make sure I can see who is jumping in the comments.
Yeah.
Do you know where that is done on here to make sure that we've got comments?
I believe you could probably pull up the landing page for all of the publishers watching too, Robbie, and see them come through there.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And let me know. I could always send it to you.
Okay. Well, I think let's go ahead and kick things off then.
Sounds good.
So, like we were saying, this is the fourth session that we've done on Google Analytics 4. We've gotten lots of attendance. We've got 1,000 people register for these workshops. So we were aware of what an important and kind of sought after conversation this is, but even more so after seeing how many of you have joined this session. So thank you for being here. And what we're going to do today is kind of finish up the conversation. Now that we are on the other side of the deadline, we want to make sure that you have a final opportunity to ask Nicole questions about your experience migrating to GA4, any kind of lingering issues you might have. This is the place to voice those questions to us. And if Nicole, if you'll go to the next slide. I do want to make sure that for those of you who are less familiar with the Google News Initiative, just have a quick sense for what we do. We are a team within Google that includes former journalists, people who come from the news industry. I was a reporter at the New York Times. I worked at Bloomberg before this, as well as longtime Googlers like Nicole who have expertise in different products and subjects. And what we try to do is work with the news industry to build a stronger relationship between Google and the journalism world. We do this in the form of training programs, the development of free tools and products, funding opportunities, and a variety of other ways that we collaborate. So anyway, you can learn more about the GNI on our website, which is g.co/news initiative. But anyway, without further ado, we will go on to the next slide. So Nicole, do you want to talk a little bit about what we're talking about today?
Yes. Thank you so much, Robbie. All right. Hi, everyone again. I'm sure that you have seen my face now if you've watched any of our other presentations, and hopefully you're not too sick of it quite yet. But today is the fourth and final, as Robbie mentioned, and we are going to be talking about overall best practices, as well as taking a look into the Explore tab within our Google Analytics account. We have reviewed all of the other information. As you can see, if you look at those last 3 webinars that we have had, we first talked about intro to GA4. We talked about making sure you know how to migrate, making sure your data is connected, flowing in correctly. Last week, we talked a little bit more about how to use the reporting tab. And then today will be best practices, talking a little bit about recommended events, and talking a bit more about the Explore page and how to best utilize that as a publisher. So without further ado, I'm going to just kind of show you the 3 things that we have set up, and you can ask questions about, of course, anything that we've covered in the last 4 webinars if you have those questions or if you need additional clarification. But we're going to talk first about tagging recommended events, and I'll show you where that exists within the UI. And we have a few in mind that we think would be most useful for you as a news publisher. And then we have how to properly use the search functionality within GA4. I don't think that we gave it, as much glory as it originally deserved in one of our previous webinars. And so I wanted to showcase those that are using GA4 from more of a high level perspective, how to find numbers pretty quickly within some of the metrics that you might be looking at. Or if you're still learning how to use GA4, but you're looking for something specific, such as a conversion event or users, purchases, etc., you can easily find that within the search functionality. And then last but not least, I think you have said or have heard me say something about Explore paths many times already. And so we're going to be looking at all of the different Explore reports. It's very confusing. There's reports and then there's Explore, but we're going to be taking a look at all of the different types of Explore paths within the Explore tab today. And one other thing, since all of you get to take a look at my lovely background, I am in my family's home. And so there's a nice tea wall. So I hope you all appreciate it and it's not too much of a distraction as we move further. So without further ado, I am going to open up into our analytics account. And so when I say our, the reason I'm saying ours is because we are going to be using the GA4 Google Merch Shop. And this is available to everybody that, has Google Merch and or anyone that is available to use the GA4 platform. And Robbie, if you want to also maybe pop my face into the webinar.
Yeah,
so
of course.
So I guess I use a lot of oh, that's you, Robbie.
Let's do this one instead.
Perfect. Thank you.
With this.
There we go. Even better.
Mm-hmm.
So I use a lot of hand gestures. And so I think I like the fact that I can speak to everybody and look at this at the same time. And Robbie, if you want to stay on with, there we go. All right. See you, Rob. Okay. So we're taking a look at the merch, the GA4 Google Merch Shop. If anyone wants the ability to access this, you can just go into Google Analytics, type in demo, and you should have access to the demo account. Happy to provide that link down below if you need. But we're going to be taking a look at this one. And then for those of you who have joined me in our other sessions, you've seen me take a look at another account where I have admin access, but I do not have the ability to see any data or have data flow through. So we're going to be a bit limited in all of that, but that's okay. Okay, so one of the first things that I wanted to review, and we'll just kind of navigate over to, where you would be able to find your events within your admin. So again, this is where all of your events will be. Now, something that we're not able to fully kind of see from start to finish is using Google Tag Manager to set up some of the events that you may find most useful for your account. But I did want to quickly just discuss what I think would be most useful as we're talking about events. So as you all know, there are different types of events, and you can see some of them here, where you can find there are enhanced measurement events or automatically collected. So if you go into your data stream and you click open your data stream, this is where you'll find enhanced measurements. And so, we have our enhanced measurements automatically collected. And then we have our recommended events, which I will very distinctly tell you which ones I think would be most useful for you all. And then we have our custom events. And so what I'm talking about today or showing you is just like where your enhanced measurements live. So here's where your enhanced measurements are. And so if I were to actually switch over to the account in which I have no data in, but I can show you where you can then find the enhanced measurements, it would be down here. And then you can open up this little setting here. And all of these are your enhanced measurements. And so if possible, I would recommend turning them all on, seeing what the data is showing you. And then, of course, if you find things that aren't useful, you can always turn them off at any point. When you do turn them on, you'll actually be able to see the data flowing through if you come back here and you come down on the left-hand side to debug view within your admin. And so I think my head might be covering it a little bit. Yeah, there we go. I'll scroll up. So then debug view, if you click on this here, you'll actually then see all of the events that are coming through. And this ensures that all of your tags are getting set up properly and you can see them coming through. So if you were to scroll down here, you can kind of see all the different timestamps and then hopefully where an event would happen. And so if you then click view item list or something, whichever event you're looking at, you'll then see here what is happening or like where they came from or what their GA session ID was, medium, page location, etc. Over here on the right, you'll actually be able to see all of the top events. And so within the last 30 minutes, these are the events that were happening within your website. We have page view, view item list, first visit, etc. So for everyone on the stream now, please make sure you're in your admin, you're looking at your debug view, and you see different events being collected on your site so that you know everything is set up properly. All right, I'm going to navigate back to our events. And then this is where I want to talk a little bit about how you tag your recommended events. So you're going to go in here and you're going to create an event. Now, I know we did something similar to this last go around or last session to show you maybe how to like add in author tracking, etc. But what you're going to do is you're going to go here. And so actually I'm going to open this on my tab where I can actually show you some more information. All right, so you'll then create an event. This is where we're going to have a small bit of gap in our knowledge, but I will make sure that we post one of the links below that shows you exactly how you can tag recommended events. We're going to be using, or what I would suggest within our links below, we're going to be giving you something for Google Tag Manager, and that's how you'll be able to use this. But once you have the recommended event set up within Tag Manager, then you'll come over here and then you'll essentially be able to put in the event name and then equals to whichever value. You'll be able to add a condition, or if you need to, like essentially any existing parameters that you would need to measure off of the event that you've created. And then you'll be able to kind of like put that event in here. And so one of them that I want to talk to everybody about, there are a list of GA4 recommended events that you can take a look at. And what I would recommend, the first one is search. And so essentially like what search is, or what the recommended search event is, it's going to be able to allow you to see anything that anyone is essentially like searching for on your site. So, or your website or app, let's say. So anything that someone is searching for, this is going to be the recommended event that I think that, you know, as a news publisher, you would want to see. If anyone's coming to your site and, you know, looking for a specific article or something that is, you know, highly being read, then you can also potentially consider that as a strategy to move some of articles over, or the content over, to the homepage or the landing page, whatever. So if publishers are, or if users are looking for something in particular, you're able to kind of see what they're searching for, or maybe what they want on your site as well. All right. The second one that I would recommend everyone is going to use is probably a bit more obvious. It's going to be the sign up one. So let's see if it's in here. Sign up. So sign_up. And this is something that you can use for a couple different items. You could either use this for your newsletters, and when your users are signing up for your newsletters, that's something I would absolutely recommend. If they are signing up to become a member of your website, there's also like membership login. You could probably create that. That's custom. But for this one, it could also be signing up for a membership. And so those are definitely like the two, I would say. Newsletters is super important for signing up. And so if you're going to use the recommended event for something in particular, newsletters, as you know, I may have said before, is going to be the first, you know, piece of information that drives loyalty to your site and users to your site. And using sign up for newsletters would be my first recommendation. All right. And then the third recommended event that I think would probably be the best to use is going to be purchase. So purchase. All right. The cool thing about purchase is that it's actually integrated into everyone's GA4 accounts already. But what you would want to do is configure this recommended event with any purchases that you may have, either through subscriptions or donations. And so any of those reader revenue models that exist within your news publication, I would absolutely make sure that you have the purchase event configured the way that you need it to, whether that be for subscriptions or if it's donations. All right. I know, again, this is a bit limited because I cannot actually show you how to tag it within Google Tag Manager and then bring it over here. But I also promise you that many, many videos exist out there on search. And so I would highly recommend also just like searching that if you need some help or step-by-step instruction. There are a ton of videos that I have seen out there. All right. So now we're going to be, I'm going to navigate over to looking at where you can then discard changes, mark them as conversions. And so I'll show you here first that once you create an event, it'll pop up here. So again, purchase, there is that one that I was telling everybody about. So this one here, and it's already marked as a conversion for everyone because a purchase event is one of the most important things that you can measure on your website. And so you want to make sure it's marked as a conversion. But essentially this toggle will be a bit blue, or it will be blue. And then I'm actually going to move over here so I can show you what this could look like with a bit more data. And so all of these are within your events. And as you can see, it's grayed out a little bit, but you see how the toggles are on or off essentially. So when you toggle something on as an event, you'll then also be able to mark it as a conversion. You'll be able to see it within your conversions here or your conversion page. And when you're in your conversion page, you'll be able to see, add to cart, begin checkout, first visit, whatever it may be that you are collecting as data, you'll be able to see here for your conversions. If you're looking for something quick to essentially see the count of the events, the percentage of change over that last time frame. So for example, we are looking at June 22nd through July 19th. And then underneath it, it's actually super useful here. It says compare May 25th to June 21st. And so it's essentially that same reference or time frame prior to the one that we're measuring currently. And so it'll let you know where the percentage of change is happening from the comparison time frame. And then we have our value here, and then the percentage of change. So this is a lot of really great information that I would, recommend taking a look at if you're ever looking for a really quick and easy way to see any conversion information. All right, the next thing is for searching insights. And when I click on this, what do I want to search? So maybe let's say, what are my monthly page views? Let's try. Okay, well, I didn't get to finish, but what were the page views? I could even say last week. All right, so essentially what this will do is you can start typing in a question. And as you can see, what I tried to show you is as you're navigating through, you can kind of figure out the best way to ask these questions so that you can get this information that you need. So for example, we had, what were the page views last week? And so I think that top of mind for all publishers is, what we're looking for is what are going to be your monthly page views, or something like what were the monthly users, or how many new users did I get? And so let's try how many users did I have last week? Oh, and I see a question for the group inspired by Nicole's background. What is your favorite kind of tea? That's a great question. Okay, I absolutely love cinnamon tea. That's a spicy tea, but also a spicy response because not a ton of people love cinnamon, but I do love cinnamon. I think it's fantastic. Harvey and Sons is a great cinnamon tea. All right, moving on. How many users did I have last week? All right, so we had over 16,000 users last week. Essentially, the reason I'm showing you this functionality and we're taking a few minutes from our presentation to show this is because I think that there are a lot of people that can find GA4 a bit intimidating as they're starting to learn. And if you're looking for something really quick and you need it, you're in a presentation, or if you're in a meeting and someone's asking you some questions about some of the data that might be coming through, try utilizing the search bar before you pull up the reporting tab or the explore tab and try to create something. If it's a bit simpler, of course. So let's say maybe we could have How many? All right. So for example, let's say you have a specific conversion event that you want to measure. So, how many view cart conversions did I have last month? There we go. And so essentially if there's, or like how many, amazing. Okay. So you can even like say smaller things. I wonder if you even just have view cart conversions. All right. So essentially you can type in a short thing and then say like view cart conversions, or I wonder even if it says like, if it'll give you the same answer here. Yeah. Okay. So the other thing I think is really cool about this functionality is when I forget a letter or something doesn't make sense, or I don't put a space, etc., it's able to kind of like pick up on what I'm asking for and then give me that number. Now, of course, it's just showing me this time frame, which is like the last week because I didn't specify anything in particular, but that's essentially something that you can do. Now, as I've been typing all of these questions, you kind of see all of the results changing as I'm typing. But what this does, and I think it's really cool, is that it'll show you where you can find a lot of this information within reports, or if there's like another type of page that you could navigate to and then see the answer to the question that you're asking, but with additional detail or granularity. All right. Now that I think you fully understand all of that, I'm just going to quickly again, within our reporting tab before we go to explore, I'm just going to remind everyone this is like where you want to come if you are looking for something that, like a lot of what the reporting does in comparison to Explore, we think that we're going to need to create something from Explore because there's so much going on there. But the great thing about GA4 is that it has been designed to give you reports that answer a lot of your questions without having to go into Explore. And the one difference, and the reason I have this up, is because when you add a comparison here, it's not going to be the exact same thing that you do once you're in Explore. Like comparisons are mostly for reports. And then within Explore, you'll use something like segments, but it's very, very similar. All right. So as you can see, I've obviously been making a lot of explorations, but what I want to do is I want to show you the template gallery. So again, explorations is going to be something that's a bit more technically complex, and I wouldn't necessarily recommend going to every single time you're trying to find an answer to data that you're looking for. And we're going to review what each of these means really, really quickly. So we have our free form right here, which is the first one. And I think, okay, yeah, you can see my mouse. So this essentially is going to be being able to explore your data in kind of the familiar cross-tab layout that you have seen before, but you can also apply several different visualization styles in this freeform report. So it'll have something like bar charts, pie charts, line charts, scatter plots, that type of stuff. That's what you're going to find in freeform. I have a lot of freeform reports because that's what I personally like myself. But to each their own, play around, figure out how you like to visualize your data and what you're actually looking for, and you'll kind of find your own that you like. All right, cohort exploration. This says, what insights can you get from your user cohort's behavior over time? And essentially, that's exactly what it is. You're going to gain insights from the behavior and performance of groups of users, essentially related by common attributes that they share. All right, the next is funnel exploration. Funnel exploration is essentially visualizing the steps that users were going to take to complete tasks on your site or app, and see how you can like optimize the user experience or identify like over and underperforming audiences within your site. Yeah. Okay. So path exploration is something that you should know fairly well if you were in Universal Analytics and you were using this a lot. So path exploration is essentially just going to let you visualize the path that your users take as they interact with your website or app. And we'll dial into path and freeform probably in the next couple of minutes just to show you some things. User lifetime, exploring user behavior and value over lifetime as a customer or a reader, because we're talking to publishers here. And then segment overlap is essentially, I realize I kind of am jumping around here. Segment overlap is seeing how different user segments relate to each other. So you're going to use this type of technique to identify new segments of users that have more complex criteria. All right, so now we're going to show you how to like find your way around. We're going to click on a freeform report. Alrighty, we're going to let this load, and then we're going to just kind of walk through what to do here. And then I'm going to show you how to create a couple different explorations that I think would probably be most useful. All right, so I know that this is a little bit smaller, so bear with me as we're kind of looking at all this information here. We have the exploration name up here. It's freeform. This can be like, you know, I'm making this up because I'm going to show you which pages on your site essentially like drive the most views. This is probably not what you would name it. And then you're able to customize your time frame to whatever you would like. So pick whichever you want. And then segments. All right. So what I explained a tiny bit is that we're not going to be using audiences, but we're going to be using segments in this. If you would like to use them, you can create your own user segment or event segment or session segment. And so if you had, you know, a user segment, you would be including users that, and then you would be able to like add a condition to this. It's essentially very, very similar to the dimensions that, or like the, yes. It's very similar again to like what I was showing you when you were in the reporting tab, which was just being able to kind of like add or take away the different like comparisons at the top. So that is what it is most similarly like. And that's what you can do here. And then you can also remove any of these. You can apply this segment, you can edit it, or you can delete it. Down here, we have dimensions and metrics. And this is the interesting thing here. So these are all the ones that are available for you to use within your report. All you would do is you drag and drop to where you want that information to go. And so the way that you would be able to add more dimensions, if you most likely already know here, you come in and you add the different dimensions here. And I know last week we talked a little bit about demographics and like age, gender, et cetera. So this is where you would be able to pull that information because it's not currently available in the reporting tab, at least as granular as it is here in the Explore tab. And so this is where you would be able to select any dimension. And if you wanted to, you can just like check. And then once you hit import, you'll see it added down here. And then same exact thing with metrics. You'll go here, you'll search for something and you'll add it in. Over here, we have the technique. So this is the technique of freeform. So all of the ones that I just reviewed with you on the Explore tab, this is how you change them here. That is different than the visualization. The visualization is truly just like showing you how you can see the data that you're looking at. And then again, it's like table, donut chart, line chart, scatter plot, everything that you kind of like mouse over, you'll be able to figure it out. This is segment comparison. So again, you'll bring these over here to like compare different segments, drag and drop. Rows, and the rows essentially for this one here. And then we have our columns, and this is device category at the moment. And so device category, you'll see it over here. Mobile, desktop, tablet, but it is down. It shows down, right? And then New York is across. So cities, which is, you know, New York, I probably said New York first because that's where I live. But Toronto, New York, Mountain View, they'll go across. And then we'll have the columns of device category going down. And then we have the values of active users. So active users, again, is the metric that you will use in order to look at users. All right, we've had enough fun looking at this in particular. And so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to show you how to create this report that shows which page, that answers essentially the question, like which pages on my site or app drive the most views. So in Universal Analytics, we're used to seeing like the pages report detailed out by the dimension of page path and metrics such as page view, unique page views, or even bounce rate, if that's what you were using. But in the GA4 properties, the page report looks a little bit different, but you can still easily like recreate what you're looking for. And so first you're going to need to kind of like add a different dimension, plus with this little icon that I showed everybody. And so what we're going to do is we're going to just add in here. And what we're going to look for is page path and query string. Awesome. And now there is another one. Let me see. Page. And then so this is the one that I want to use essentially, but if you also want to be able to see your data by page title, like in Universal Analytics, the page reports uses page path, but essentially like you can enable like another dimension of page title. Ooh. And screen name. There you go. Okay. So that's what you would also. So anyway, we're going to import the both of them. I think I kept the other one clicked on, right? Yes. Perfect. Amazing. Okay. So next, then we'll be able to add the metric for views so that we can bring that into our exploration as well. There we go. And then we're going to import this. All right. So now you'll see both of them on this side. Just because you've imported them doesn't mean they're now going to be in your report. You still have to do that drag and drop. And so in order to build the pages exploration, you'll need to then remove all of the default metrics and dimensions that were like applied in the rows and columns settings. And so we're going to add page path and query string over here. And then we're also going to get rid of city or anything else that you might have there. There we go. And then we're going to keep active users down here. Oh, and then we don't need device category. That'll just make everything more confusing. We're going to keep active users, but then we're also going to drag views over here as well. Right, because essentially if we're using active users, we're going to be able to see like the sense of like the popularity of a page. Awesome.
Nicole, I just wanted to hop in for a quick second. We have a question from a viewer, Drew. So I wanted to pull that up on screen and answer it. Drew, thank you for your question. And for others, whether you're watching this on YouTube or you're watching it on our website, feel free to type in questions. So Drew asks, how do I troubleshoot between two separate GA4 instances that are running on my site? I do not mean to have two instances. I believe it happened on July 1st when I clicked setup.
Okay.
So hoping you can.
Yeah. Okay. Drew, I would recommend, although you have two, you don't need to keep two if you do not want. What I would recommend doing is focusing on, you can technically like delete one of these views if you would like. And so that's what I would recommend. If you're looking to troubleshoot between the two to see maybe like what you're missing, I think the quickest way to be able to troubleshoot to see if something was imported versus something that wasn't, I would look at the events and conversions page. And then if you had any other settings, like those that were, had access to one of the views, you can check who has access to both views. And it might help you better or differentiate which one to use. But I would just focus on one, delete the other instance, and then use that one moving forward. And you can always remove everyone's access from the one that you don't want to use. I hope I'm answering that question correctly, but if I'm not, please feel free to add in more clarification on the bottom there. And we can kind of sort that out. But although there may be two views, that's just because as we were going through this whole transition from UA to GA4, the analytics team wanted to ensure that no one was going to fully miss out on collecting data for their website. And they created something if you did not finish your, I'll actually quickly show everyone what I'm talking about. So here, we're going to share this tab instead. So in your admin, the reason that this may have happened was because your setup assistant here. So for example, I have 0 out of 7 marked complete. This is not a real account. This is why. But if you had not yet said mark as complete and, marked all of those as complete, there was a chance that there could have been an additional account created. Yeah. So ultimately, focus on one. Don't worry about the other one. It's absolutely fine to have like two instances technically like running on your site as long as you're only using one to actually like measure what's going on. Hopefully, Robbie, keep me honest, Robbie, if you think I may have missed something.
Yeah, Drew, I was going to say, I hope that answers your question. I know you've joined these sessions in the past, so thanks for coming again. If it doesn't answer your question, feel free to kind of reiterate or phrase it differently if we misunderstood.
Great. All right. So back to this page. So essentially, what you can see here, if you're not looking at the not set page, of course, what you'll be able to see or quickly see is that the most popular product pages here, it seems, are the stationery and the lifestyle drinkware. So anyway, obviously as a news publisher, this is e-commerce, but as a news publisher, you'll be able to essentially see which pages on your site are actually driving the most views, which is really helpful when you're trying to make decisions about the content that you are presenting to all of your readers. And this is, of course, something that you can continue to look at or look back on weekly, bi-weekly, daily, if you want, just to see what these views look like for everyone that's on your site. All right. Let's do another one. Let's do like maybe which landing page performs the best or drives the most conversions. Yeah, let's do that. All right. So what we're going to do now, essentially, like the reason that we want to think about, I mean, it makes sense for everyone that's listening to me about why you would want to know which landing pages is performing the best or which one's driving the most conversions. And there's also a landing page report. So not in the Explore tab, there is a landing page report, which we looked at last week. But you want to understand where users first land on your website so that you can essentially like optimize the user experience. And if you have marketing efforts, specifically those. So in Universal Analytics, this is essentially an out-of-the-box report in the reporting UI. But in GA4 here, the properties, it doesn't yet exist. So what we're going to do is we're going to recreate it as an exploration from scratch. And there are a couple of important things that you'll need as you're building this. Essentially, it's going to be like the relevant metrics such as like views, sessions, users, and then additional metrics and dimensions. But I'll show you obviously how we're going to do everything here. All right, so what we're going to look for in our dimensions is we are going to look for landing page. All right, 1 second. I think that, is this different because I don't have access to data? 1 second. All right, back to this. Okay, so then we're going to take out these things because we don't need a lot of these. I just like to clear them out, but I don't think it's absolutely necessary. All right, now that we have this one, we are going to make sure that we have all of our, we're going to have views, sessions. We have views and we need to add sessions. And then we also need to add active users is already there. So we're just going to add sessions here. There we go. And then if we have the ability, actually, we can add Okay, so those are the ones that we want on the left-hand side. And then what we're going to do is we're going to, I'm just going to double check one thing. Okay. So we're going to pull this up to our row. And then we're going to have our views, sessions, and active users here. Awesome. Okay, so now what we're looking at, this essentially will show you where all of your landing pages are performing the best or like help we'll talk about conversions in just 1 second. But this will be where the active users, views, and sessions are coming in through that are like the most important. And so I would say that taking a look at this number, lifestyle drinkware seems to be very, very important. Apparel for men's, but again, on a news publication, this is going to be a little bit different. So you're going to be able to see how many of your pages are getting the most views and how many active users are on each of these landing pages, and then which ones are essentially the most important. Robbie, I see you've joined our stream. Do you have a question?
I mean, it pop up from time to time when we get questions, and we have one from Joey. So I just wanted to see if we could field this now, which is, how can you show multiple event count columns in exploration reports?
Multiple event count columns. Are we talking about, I might need to know more specifically what you're trying to measure. So, because like these are technically, you could add a column, I guess, if you're looking to add more information here. I don't know if that's maybe what he's asking. But that of course is not pretty because like this is not what we're looking at here, but like now we have male and female up here at the top. But I guess you're asking about events specifically. Oh no, I went out of my template. 1 second, let me show you. I think that for this one, if you're talking about event count, I don't know if this is the specific one that he's talking about, or if the number of times okay. Wait, why isn't it dragging? Oh, because I have to, here we go. I don't know if this is particularly what you're looking for, but if you're looking for maybe like how users are moving through the website and the different events that they're actually looking at, I would actually recommend like page path, which I'll show everybody soon. But if you're just looking for specific event count, that's how you could do it. I know that this is a bit difficult because I can't talk back and forth, but if there's more information that you want to provide in that question, hopefully this answered part of it. And then I'll show you page path if you're potentially looking for like multiple events and how to look at users throughout them.
Okay, we've got one other question, Nicole, which is about anonymity. So let me pull that up.
Yeah, and then as we're doing that, I just want to quickly show everyone to close out this specific Explore is that if you add purchase as a value, you can see the landing pages that were essentially viewed when there was a purchase. And so that is how you would show it down here as well. Just as like to close that out. All right, what is the next question, Robbie?
Okay, so we get another question, and this one has to do with anonymity. It says, all of the data from GA4 is anonymous, correct? I use a CRM that through cookies enables me to track website visits of particular customers, subscribers to my site.
Yes, like anonymous from the sense that I wouldn't know if like it was Robbie specifically looking at something. Now, if we have demographic data on Robbie, such as his gender, then we'll know that. But other than that, because of the GA4 platform and the new privacy and user settings, it's essentially like making sure that everyone's privacy is being respected.
Okay, that's great. So there was a sort of clarification on that. That's my question about all of this great data, including tags like sign up, is do these GA4 data tags give me data about a particular subscriber, or is this anonymous information?
Okay, so there's going to be like the Google signals that you can turn on or like the ID, but it won't be unless you have the actual membership login information with like their name and all of that type of stuff. And then they have their whole profile saved. And then you can see like what happens within their profile. Everything is anonymous because essentially like privacy first for GA4.
Yep.
Hopefully that clarifies it, but I'm happy to include like a link or two just to like explain from like the Google Analytics Help Center more specifically on that topic. All
right. Thank you guys again for these questions. They're really helpful. Feel free to jump in again, either on YouTube or on our website. Next question is, where do I find or get old data from a UA code? Will the old UA data be on the new GA4?
Yeah, great question. So with the transition from Universal Analytics to GA4, the data can be stored from Universal, but it will not be imported or available to import into GA4. The really quick reason why this is occurring is because Universal Analytics and GA4 are entirely separate data models. And so the way that we were counting and looking at certain data within Universal is actually not going to be the same way that we would do it within GA4. And so even if we had all of this data and information and the ability to put it into GA4, it actually, unfortunately, would not make any sense, just based off of the way that the new metrics and dimensions work and the way that we're measuring certain things. And so you are able to store your Universal Analytics data, and you have until July of 2024 to do that. But unfortunately, we'll be focusing on just the GA4 metrics and that moving forward. All right, I think because Robbie left me, that means I can keep showing you. I have one more. I want to show you I'll click into some of these, but I want to go back into the template gallery, and I want to talk about path exploration because of that great question that I got potentially about certain events. And so the one thing about page path is that you have the ability to essentially maybe see like who is going to purchase something or who's adding something to a cart. And when I say who, I think you'll better understand that's not exactly who, but how many people. And so within all of your page path, this should look very, very similar to what you have had before. So you're always going to have a starting point of your event name of session start. And you're able to kind of like click into any of the blue bars to then decide where you go next. And then you have the ability to drag and drop here. So you can have either an event name or you can have a page title, screen class, page titles. You can read all of this. Anyway, so then what you would be able to do from here is we have page view, but we also have 15 more. There's scroll, recent, whatever it may be. So we're going to start with, our session start, and then we're going to do page view. I'm like, okay, I'm interested in session start, and then I'm interested in page view, and I want to keep moving forward because I want to see maybe who added something to their cart. And so because there's so many different events here, but you're only interested in seeing a few of them, the really cool thing about the path exploration, although you're able to kind of move from one to the next as you were in Universal, you also have these little like pencils to select the node values to display. And essentially what the node values are all of these different options down here. So if you were to actually click on that, then you have all of these different event names that you have configured within your account to select from. So the only ones that I want to see here are going to be maybe like, let's see if we can do view cart. Oh, there we go. That's the other thing. It's really good to see me kind of mess up. If you don't use the underscore, then it's not going to show up. So make sure that you're just using whichever word you need. And Robbie, I see you again.
A humbling experience when even Nicole Rocchio made a mistake.
So essentially we have view cart here. And that's the one that we're most concerned about. And so if I wanted to then go into view cart and see what happened once they viewed the cart, again, these are going to be your specific events that you have available. So anything that is here is up to you to kind of like be able to edit. And then it'll be here, it'll be scroll, page view, or session start. And then you'll know, if someone was viewing the cart that they didn't necessarily purchase from that specific piece. And this is, again, only over the course of this, time frame. Make sure everything that you're looking at is what you would like to look at. But I wanted to quick show that path exploration for everyone as well. But yeah, Robbie, do you by chance have a question for us because you have joined me in the stream? Oh, wait, you're on mute, Robbie.
Sorry about that. All right, one more question for you. Let me pull it up.
Yeah, take your time.
What is the difference between an exploration and the reports in GA4?
Okay, that's a great question. So there is a multitude of things that essentially could be different. So reports and explorations both are going to be able to provide actionable insights into both like web or app data, and you'll see the same data usually in both of those areas, but there are times when you see some differences, and where they come from So reports and explorations support different fields. So just like by design, reports and explorations will give you different views of data, just mostly because of like the different levels of granularity. So for example, some dimensions and metrics that are available in reports are not supported in explorations. And so when you open a report in explorations that, would include those unsupported fields, the fields are usually just dropped from the exploration. And so so visualizations essentially just will not appear in the result of the exploration if it's not available. And earlier I had said something about, the filtering. So essentially in explorations, the filter will allow you to choose like the match type. So, it such as contains, exactly matches, or begins with. But in reports, search acts as like the filter using a contained. So essentially, note that the search box between the visualization and the data table with the list of dimensions, and it's not the search field at the top of the analytics interface, nor the add filter button. And then the other thing I think that is probably the most important is the differences between segments and comparisons. And so I mentioned it a little earlier, but to reiterate, comparisons in reports can use fields that are not supported in explorations. So comparisons are present in a report, and if you open that into explorations, they would hopefully be converted or be able to be converted into segments, but then there could be some unsupported metrics or dimensions that aren't going to be included. So yes, that's essentially it. And the date differences for everyone here, based off of your property's data retention settings, the date ranges in explorations are limited to that. And I think that that's really important, actually. And I should probably show you where you can find your report or your data retention. So quickly here in admin, you'll go over to data settings and then data retention. Here it's set for everybody as 2 months. Make sure you switch that from 2 months to 14 months so that you have the ability to go back past 2 months within your Explore tab. Okay.
All right. We got one other question that just came in, Nicole. So does events names seem like they need event descriptions so that people across an organization can more clearly understand what an event definition actually means? What do you think about that?
It doesn't seem like a full question, but yes, I agree. I think that you need to create a description within the event to make it easier for anyone that's using your analytics account to understand exactly what that event means. And so this is important, of course, if you have, within news publications, I would say that if, let's say you had 2 signups for some reason, I just would change the whole event name itself to be more descriptive. And the description box is there for you to use. And I would always, take advantage of it, but that's me being very, anal about certain things. And so I always kind of over describe to make sure that there is no misunderstanding of certain events. But as long as the event itself is very obvious, then I don't think there's any need for that. But let's say, for example, you have 3 subscription offerings on your account and you want all 3 to be different or categorized differently within events. I would, in my opinion, use your custom events and make sure that the maybe purchase for each of those has a different naming convention to make it fairly obvious for those that are using your account to understand where they're at or what data they're looking at.
There were no other questions at this point in the chat, so if anybody else has one, feel free to add it.
Awesome, I think. Either that's because there's a lot of information that I'm kind of shoving at you all, or hopefully you're just kind of watching us get used to looking at all of the Explore reports. As we kind of start to wrap up here, because I know we only have 5 or so minutes left, what I'll do is I can kind of open up each of these templates so that you can see what they look like. So we have our funnel exploration here. So again, the funnel exploration is going to be visualizing kind of steps users take to complete tasks, or see how you can optimize the experience or identify over or underperforming, visualizations. And so, for example, you could have one funnel be, steps 1, 2, and 3. And then another one could just be like funnel, like A and B. Also, so just so everyone knows here, you have the ability to add a separate type of report to this overarching report as well, or overall explore or explorations. You have the ability to add maybe like, let's say you wanted a path exploration in tandem with the funnel exploration. You can actually use both of these so that you have different views of everything that you're looking at once. And so let's say that, you're able to, within this funnel, because it can be slightly complicated, but the reason that you would use funnel is essentially to say, let's say you have a few visitors on your site and they have decided to kind of like go through step 1 and step 2 and step 3, and then someone else only did 2 and 3, and then somebody else only did 3. Essentially what you'll be able to do is see what or who as a user is able to like meet the requirements for specific steps. And you'll be able to see, like, for example, it's first open and visit, the abandonment rate for each of them. And then if you kind of scroll over, it'll tell you like obviously the active users here. And then wait 1 second, I just want to. Oh, there we go. Sorry. So we have first open visit, session start, screen, page view, and then purchase. And then what you'll be able to see here is just like the completion rate or the abandonment rate of each of these steps as a user is going through them. And you'll also be able to like kind of change here what device category you would want. So if you want to look at mobile, desktop, tablet, etc. And so we'll have step 1 here where, let's say 19,000 of the overall users started on desktop, and then where they went after that and their abandonment rate. And so which ones for us are able to complete the purchase. And you're able to see on mobile and desktop, this isn't the best way, honestly, to look at all of this information here in the funnel, but like you'll be able to see the specific ones that got to step 4 and then where they came from. Again, these are different ways to like view some of this data. I think the best way, personally speaking, that you can actually learn about which reports are the most, or which explorations are the best for you to use, is to click on all the different types, play around with them, see what they provide to you, and then, I don't know, just like figure out which ones you like the most. That's, I know, not the best. I personally really, really like the free form. But I know that I was looking at the segment overlap report the other day, and I liked kind of like the way that you were able to see some of this information. And I do know that for those of you who are interested or more interested in demographics, this is a great place to come and see things. Or if you like to look at different colors as you're looking at things, because it's easier to segment, I would highly recommend this as well. And so really quickly here, we have the segment comparisons. And again, if you want to do different segments, this is where you can kind of add some of them. But we have the segment comparisons here. So we have mobile traffic, tablet traffic, age 25 to 54. You could do gender or something like that as well. And then you'll be able to see here how these active users are overlapping. So which ones are coming from tablet or which ones are coming from desktop, etc. I see Robbie has joined us. I do want to just like close out the explorations tab one more time by saying it is a bit more advanced, but a bit more granular. And once you have an idea of what you're looking for in mind, I think that if you kind of like play around with some of the reports, you'll be able to see which one gives you really what you're looking for. But Robbie, I'll pass to you. Do we have another question?
Yeah, so we're almost at time, and I just wanted to end by asking kind of on behalf of people who are watching Nicole, since this is our last in this series, going forward, what is the best way for people to raise questions to Google about GA4 if they have other questions in the future? I'll share a link to the Help Center, but are there any other resources you'd recommend?
No, I think that that's great. What we're actually going to do is we're going to create a landing page for Google Analytics 4 in particular within the GNI. And this is a link that we can share on all of these video links. So if you're ever looking for it, we'll be able to share it here. And then on that page, we're going to have all of the resources that a publisher could possibly need or want or use to better learn and understand GA4. So we will have that available for everyone to use. One additional thing, and this has nothing to do necessarily with the Google News Initiative, but the Google Analytics team has created a plethora of videos about how to do absolutely anything within your account or even within Tag Manager. I would highly recommend that you also go and look at their library of videos, because I am doing my absolute best to step in and kind of help some of our news publishers out. But I am unfortunately not the Google Analytics team, and so they will definitely have more information than I do. But hopefully this was enough to have all of our publishers be a bit more familiar with how to navigate GA4. Again, I know it's not the easiest thing in the world, but I promise that as long as you are spending some time trying to learn the platform, you'll find everything that you were using before in Universal Analytics, and become more comfortable with it.
All right, thanks, Nicole. Well, I know we're at the hour, so we will stop there. But again, thank you for the people who joined today and for the past 3 sessions. I hope you found this helpful, and we look forward to seeing you in future workshops.
Yes, thank you everyone so much. Take care. Have a great rest of your day.